The desert highway stretched like a wound across the Nevada landscape, and on this particular Tuesday afternoon, Officer Marcus Webb sat in his patrol car watching the heat shimmer rise from the asphalt like ghosts. He'd been working this stretch of Route 95 for 7 years now, and he could read the road like most men read newspapers. Every roar of an engine told a story, and when he heard the deep rumble of a Harley-Davidson approaching from the south, something in his gut tightened. The motorcycle materialized. Through the heat waves, a black and chrome beast ridden by a man who looked like he'd been carved from the same stone as the mountains surrounding them. The biker wore worn leather, and even from a distance, Marcus could see the patches on his vest. Iron Serpent's MC, the kind of club that made other clubs nervous. Marcus pulled onto the highway behind him, lights flashing. The motorcycle didn't speed up or swerve. Instead, it slowed with an almost resigned grace and pulled onto the shoulder, kicking up dust that caught the afternoon sun. The rider killed the engine and waited, hands visible on the handlebars. As Marcus approached on foot, his hand instinctively hovering near his service weapon, he took in the details. The man was in his late 40s, maybe 50. Weathered skin, graying beard, eyes hidden behind dark sunglasses. The kind of rider who'd put 100,000 miles on his soul before he'd hit 30. "Afternoon," Marcus said, his voice steady. "License and registration, please." The biker nodded slowly. "Sure thing, officer." His voice was rough, like gravel mixed with whiskey. He reached carefully into his vest pocket, movements deliberate and non-threatening. "Mind if I ask what I did?" "Broken tail light," Marcus replied, though in truth, he'd pulled him over on instinct more than anything else. Something about this rider had caught his attention in a way he couldn't quite explain. The biker pulled out his wallet, and as he did, his sleeve rode up his right forearm. That's when Marcus saw it. Time seemed to fracture. The wallet fell to the dust. Marcus stood frozen, staring at the tattoo on the man's forearm, a design he knew better than his own reflection. A serpent coiled around a broken sword, and beneath it numbers. A date, March 15th, 2007. The biker noticed Marcus's reaction and slowly, very slowly, removed his sunglasses. His eyes, pale blue haunted, locked onto Marcus's face. Recognition flickered there too, followed by something that might have been fear or relief. Or both. "You," the biker whispered. Marcus's hand dropped from his weapon, but his world had already exploded. Marcus Webb had never planned to become a cop. Growing up in Henderson, just outside Vegas, he'd been the kind of kid who collected speeding tickets like baseball cards. His father had been a mechanic, his mother a cocktail waitress, and both had worked themselves to the bone to keep him and his sister Sarah fed and clothed. The American dream served cold in a Nevada suburb. He'd been 22 when Sarah disappeared. She'd been 17, wild and beautiful, and completely convinced she was invincible. She'd started dating a guy from a motorcycle club, not the Iron Serpents, but a smaller outfit called the Desert Jackals. Marcus had warned her. They'd fought. She told him he didn't understand freedom, didn't understand what it meant to really live. And then one night, she'd climbed onto the back of a motorcycle and vanished into the darkness. They found her 3 months later in a canyon outside of Searchlight. The official report said drug overdose, but Marcus had seen her body, had seen the bruises, had known in his bones what those bastards had done to his little sister. That's when he decided to become a police officer. Not for justice. Justice was a luxury the law couldn't always afford. He joined to keep other sisters, other daughters, from disappearing into that same darkness. 7 years he'd worn the badge. 7 years he'd pulled over bikers and searched for the faces of the men who'd killed Sarah. But he'd never expected this. The man standing before Marcus was named Jackson Jax Merritt, though he'd gone by a dozen other names over the years. He'd been riding with the Iron Serpents for 18 years now, and before that, he'd spent another decade with various clubs across the Southwest. The motorcycle wasn't just his vehicle. It was his religion, his therapist, his only honest relationship. Jax had gotten the tattoo on March 15th, 2007, though he wished to God he hadn't. It wasn't a club marking. wasn't something the iron serpents had given him. This was personal. This was a reminder of the day his life had forked into two impossibly different paths, and he'd chosen the darker one. He'd known this moment would come eventually. You can't outrun your past when it's inked into your skin. We need to talk, Jack said quietly, his hands still visible, non-threatening. But not here. Not like this. Marcus's mind was reeling. The tattoo, that date. He'd seen it before, in a file in photographs taken at a crime scene. His crime scene. Sarah's crime scene. Get off the bike, Marcus said, his voice harder now. Hands on the seat. Officer, I know what you're thinking. Hands on the seat, now. Jax complied, moving slowly. My name is Jackson Merritt. I'm not armed, and I know you know that date. But before you do what you're about to do, you need to listen to me. Please. Marcus's hand was back on his weapon. You have the right to remain silent. I tried to save her. The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. The desert seemed to hold its breath. Even the wind died. What did you say? Jax turned his head slightly, just enough to meet Marcus's eyes. Your sister, Sarah Webb, March 15th, 2007, I was there. And I tried to save her. Jax spoke carefully, knowing each word could mean the difference between understanding and a bullet. I wasn't Iron Serpents back then. I was riding independent, doing odd jobs, trying to keep my head down. I'd been in Searchlight that night at a bar called the Dusty Spoke. The desert jackals used to hang there. Marcus didn't interrupt, but his jaw was tight enough to crack teeth. She was there, Jax continued. Pretty girl, way too young to be in that place. She was with Bobby Krause. He was a jackal, mean son of a bitch who liked to hurt things. I'd seen him work before. He was the kind of guy who gave all of us a bad name. The memories came flooding back. Jax remembered the girl, bright-eyed, laughing too loud, drinking too fast. He'd known she was in trouble before she did. Bobby had been slipping something into her drinks, and his buddies had been watching with the kind of anticipation that made Jax's skin crawl. I tried to warn her, Jax said. Told her she should leave, call someone. She told me to mind my own business. She was with Bobby, she said. He was going to take care of her. Marcus's voice was barely a whisper. So you just let her go? No. Jax's hands tightened on the motorcycle seat. I followed them. Bobby and 3 of his boys took her out to the canyon. I stayed back, stayed hidden. I thought maybe I was wrong, maybe they were just going to party. But when I heard her scream, the desert air felt thick. Marcus could barely breathe. I went in, Jax said. Took down 2 of them before they knew what hit them. Bobby had a knife. He cut me. Jax gestured to a scar on his neck that Marcus hadn't noticed before. We fought. I got the knife away from him. But by the time I got to your sister, she'd already, the drugs, whatever he'd given her, her heart had stopped. Tears were streaming down Marcus's face now, though he barely noticed. You're lying. I held her, Jax said, his own voice breaking. I tried CPR. I tried everything I knew, but I was too late. And then I heard sirens. Someone must have heard the fight, called it in. And I ran. God forgive me, but I ran. Marcus's weapon was drawn now, pointed at Jax's back. You ran. You left my sister dying in a canyon and you ran. I was on parole, Jax said. I had a record. I'd done time for assault. If the cops found me there covered in blood, with a dead girl and 4 knocked-out jackals, they'd have pinned it on me. You know they would have. I didn't kill her, but I couldn't prove it. So I ran, and I've been running ever since. The tattoo, Marcus said. Why that date? Jax's shoulders sagged. To remember, to never forget that I wasn't good enough, fast enough, brave enough to save her. I got it a week later. Every morning I wake up and see it, and I remember that I failed, that some kid's sister died because I was 5 minutes too late. The gun in Marcus's hand felt impossibly heavy. Everything he'd believed for 7 years was crumbling. The official story had been drug overdose. The desert jackals had scattered after that night, their club falling apart. Bobby Krause had been found beaten half to death in that canyon, along with 3 of his boys. None of them had ever talked about what happened. The case had been closed as accidental death with assault charges pending, but there had never been enough evidence to prove murder. And now, standing on this dusty highway, Marcus was face to face with the ghost of that night. "Bobby Krause," Marcus said. "Where is he now?" Jax shook his head. "Dead. Got himself killed in a prison fight 2 years after that night. Divine justice, maybe. The other 3 scattered. I don't know where they are, and I don't care. But you remember them." Something in Marcus's tone made Jax turn his head further. "Every face, every name. I've spent 18 years remembering them." A long silence stretched between them. A truck roared past on the highway, oblivious to the drama unfolding on the shoulder. Marcus lowered his weapon slowly, though he didn't holster it. "Why'd you get that specific tattoo?" he asked. "The serpent and the broken sword." "The serpent represents betrayal," Jack said quietly. "What Bobby did, what I couldn't stop. The broken sword represents a warrior who failed his duty. That's me. I had the chance to be a hero and I wasn't, so I wear it. A mark of shame, not a club marking. No, though the Iron Serpents asked me about it when I prospected. I told them it was personal. They respected that." Marcus finally holstered his weapon. "Get up, slowly." Jack stood, turning to face the officer fully. Up close, Marcus could see the lines of pain etched into the man's face, the weight of 18 years of guilt pressing down on shoulders that had carried too much for too long. "The Iron Serpents," Marcus said. "What do they do?" "We ride. We protect our own. We live by a code." "What code?" Jax met his eyes steadily. "Loyalty to the club. Honor on the road. Protection of the innocent. And we don't tolerate predators. If a man hurts women, hurts kids, sells poison to innocents, we deal with it. Away, vigilante justice. Justice that happens when the law can't or won't reach," Jax corrected. "I'm not proud of everything I've done, but I've never hurt an innocent person. Not since that night. Everything I've done since March 15th, 2007, has been to balance the scales, to be the man I should have been for your sister." Marcus felt something shift inside him. He'd spent 7 years hating motorcycle clubs, lumping them all together as if they were all the same breed of criminal. But standing here, looking into the eyes of a man who'd tried to save Sarah, who'd failed and had been punishing himself ever since, Marcus saw something he hadn't expected. He saw himself. "There's something else," Jack said, reaching into his vest pocket again, slower this time. He pulled out an old photograph, worn at the edges, and handed it to Marcus. It was Sarah, young, smiling, full of life, and on the back, in handwriting Marcus didn't recognize, were words. "She deserved better. So do you, JM. Where did you get this?" Marcus's voice was rough. "Her purse. That night, I took it before I left because I didn't want the jackals to have it, didn't want them to have anything of hers. I've carried it ever since. I was going to send it to her family, but I didn't know how, didn't know what to say. How do you tell a family that their daughter died because you weren't good enough?" Marcus stared at the photo, at his sister's smile, frozen forever in happier times. "She was going to art school," he said quietly. "She wanted to be a painter, said she was going to paint the desert, make people see the beauty in it." "I'm sorry," Jack said. "I know that doesn't mean anything. But I'm sorry." They stood there on the highway shoulder, 2 men connected by tragedy and ink, by guilt and grief. Marcus knew he should arrest Jax. There were questions to answer, statements to give, maybe even charges to file, leaving the scene of a death, failure to render aid. There were probably a dozen things he could charge him with, but Marcus also knew something else. The man standing before him wasn't a criminal. He was a brother in arms, someone who'd tried to do the right thing and had paid for it every day since. The tattoo wasn't a badge of honor. It was a scarlet letter, a reminder of failure that Jax had chosen to wear on his skin forever. "The code you mentioned," Marcus said finally. "Protecting the innocent. Is that real, or is that something you tell yourself to sleep at night?" "It's real," Jax said. "The Iron Serpents were not angels. We've got members who've done time, who've made mistakes. But we police our own, and we watch out for people who can't watch out for themselves. It's not perfect, but it's something." Marcus made a decision that would change both their lives. "Get on your bike," he said. Jax blinked, confused. "What? Your taillight is broken. I'm giving you a warning. Get it fixed within 48 hours, or you'll get a citation. Understood? Jack stared at him. Officer, My name is Marcus, he interrupted. Marcus Webb, and you didn't kill my sister. Bobby Krause and his boys did? You tried to save her. That's what I'm going to remember. I failed her. You tried, Marcus said firmly. That's more than most people would have done. And you've been carrying that weight for 18 years. Maybe it's time to put it down. Jack's eyes filled with tears. None of us deserve anything, Marcus said. We just do the best we can with what we're given. You've been punishing yourself for 18 years. Sarah wouldn't have wanted that. She believed in freedom in living, so live. Honor her that way. But Marcus wasn't finished. There's something I need from you, though. Jax wiped his eyes. Anything. Information. You said you remember the other 3 men who were there that night. The ones who helped Bobby. Every detail. I want their names. Where they are. What they're doing. Marcus's voice was hard now. Bobby might be dead, but they're not. And they never paid for what they did to Sarah. Jax nodded slowly. You want me to help you build a case? I want justice. Real justice. Can you help me with that?
Yes, Jack said without hesitation.
But it'll take time. These men scattered, changed their names. I've kept tabs on them over the years, but I haven't pushed it. I didn't think I had the right. You have the right now, Marcus said. Work with me. Help me bring them in. The right way. No vigilante justice, no Iron Serpent's retribution. We do this by the book, but we do it together. Jax extended his hand. Marcus looked at it for a long moment, then grasped it firmly. 2 men, connected by ink and tragedy, forming an unlikely alliance on a dusty Nevada highway. There's one more thing, Marcus said. The tattoo. The broken sword. What about it? A broken sword can be reforged, Marcus said. It's not destroyed, just damaged, and damage can be repaired. Jack smiled slightly. You sound like a philosopher. I sound like someone who spent 7 years being angry at the wrong people, Marcus corrected. I blamed all of you, every biker, every club member, every rider. I thought you were all the same. But you're not. You tried to save her. That has to count for something. Over the next 6 months, Marcus and Jax met regularly, always carefully, always discreetly. Marcus couldn't be seen working with a member of a motorcycle club. His superiors would never understand. But Jax had connections throughout the biker world, and information flowed through the clubs like water. One by one, Jax tracked down the 3 men who'd been in that canyon with Bobby Krause. The first was living in Reno, working construction under an assumed name. The second had moved to Arizona and was running a small-time drug operation. The third had gone straight, married, had kids, and was working as a mechanic in California. Marcus built cases against all 3. The first 2 went down hard. The Reno guy had warrants out already, and the Arizona drug runner had enough evidence against him to put him away for 20 years. But the third one, the guy who'd gone straight, that one was complicated. His name is Tommy Reed, Jax told Marcus during one of their meetings at a diner outside of town. He was there that night, held Sarah down while Bobby, but after that night he left the Jackals, moved away, got clean. He's got 2 daughters now, works hard. By all accounts, he's become a good man. Marcus stared at his coffee. A good man who helped kill my sister. A boy who made a terrible mistake and has spent 15 years trying to make up for it, Jax countered. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve to pay. I'm saying you need to decide what kind of justice you're looking for. Revenge or redemption? It was the hardest question Marcus had ever faced. He knew the law said Tommy Reed needed to answer for his crimes. But he also knew that destroying the life of a reformed man, hurting his innocent children, wouldn't bring Sarah back. In the end, Marcus made a choice that surprised them both. He drove to California, showed up at Tommy Reed's garage, and confronted him. Tommy broke down immediately, confessing everything, saying he'd been waiting for this moment for 15 years. He was willing to turn himself in, willing to face justice. I have a better idea, Marcus said. You tell me everything that happened that night. Every detail. I record it. You sign a confession. And then you take that guilt and you turn it into something good. You talk to young men, kids who might make the same mistakes you did. You tell them Sarah's story. You make sure her death means something, Tommy agreed. The confession helped close Sarah's case officially, though Tommy never served time. Instead, he became something more powerful, a witness, a cautionary tale, a voice for prevention. And every year on March 15th, he visited Sarah's grave and left flowers. 2 years after that highway stop, Marcus and Jax met again at the same spot. It was late afternoon, the same time of day, the same quality of light. But everything else had changed. Jax pulled up on his motorcycle, and Marcus was waiting by his patrol car. This time, though, Marcus was smiling. "How's the tail light?" Marcus called out. "Fixed," Jax replied, climbing off his bike. "Been fixed for 2 years now. I'm almost disappointed you haven't pulled me over again." They shook hands, and then impulsively embraced. Brothers forged in tragedy and redemption. "I wanted to show you something," Marcus said. He opened his car door and pulled out a folder. Inside were photographs of Tommy Reed speaking at a youth center, of the 2 other men behind bars, of closed case files. "It's done," Marcus said. "All of them answered for what they did. Sarah's case is closed. Not the way I wanted it to be closed, but right. It feels right," Jax nodded. "And you? How are you?" "Better," Marcus admitted. "I've been meeting with a counselor, working through the anger, and I've been training other officers on how to interact with motorcycle clubs, how not all of you are the same. It's a slow process, but it's something." "Good," Jax said. "That's good." Marcus gestured to Jax's tattoo. "You ever think about getting it covered up? Or removed?" Jax looked down at the serpent and broken sword. "I thought about it, but I decided to keep it. Not as a mark of shame anymore, though. As a reminder of what? That failure isn't the end. That broken things can still have purpose. That a sword doesn't have to be perfect to still fight for something good." Jax smiled. "You told me it could be reforged. I'm working on that." Every day, Marcus pulled something from his pocket, a small medallion on a chain. "Sarah made this years ago in one of her art classes. It's a phoenix, rising from ashes. I want you to have it." "Marcus, I can't." "You can," Marcus said firmly. "You've earned it. You tried to save her. You've helped me bring her justice. And you've been remaking yourself into something better." Sarah believed in transformation. This phoenix, it's her gift to you, to remind you that we all get to rise again. Jax took the medallion with trembling hands. He attached it to his keychain, right next to his motorcycle keys. "I'll carry it everywhere," he said quietly. "I promise." They stood together in the desert sunlight, 2 men who'd been brought together by the worst night of their lives and had somehow forged something meaningful from it. The Iron Serpent's MC patch on Jax's vest caught the light, and Marcus found he no longer felt anger when he looked at it. Instead, he felt something like understanding. "The Iron Serpents," Marcus said. "They know about all this?" "Some of it," Jax replied. "My brothers know I've been working with a cop on an old case. They weren't happy about it at first, but they trust me. And when I explained what it was about, they understood. The code, Marcus, it's real. We protect our own, but we also believe in making things right." "Maybe I judged too quickly," Marcus said. "All those years I thought all clubs were the same. But you're not. You're just people. Some good, some bad, most somewhere in between. Like everyone else. That's all any of us are," Jax agreed. "Just people trying to figure it out as we go." Marcus looked down the highway, toward the horizon, where the asphalt met the sky. "You know what Sarah used to say? She said the desert teaches you that life and death aren't opposites. They're partners. That everything dies so something else can grow. That destruction and creation are just 2 sides of the same coin." "Smart kid." "She was," Marcus said, his voice thick with emotion. "She really was." Jax mounted his motorcycle. "I should get going." "Club meeting tonight, Jax," Marcus called out. "Thank you. For trying to save her. For caring. For carrying that weight all these years. You didn't have to, but you did. That means something. She deserved better than what happened to her," Jax said simply. "I'm just glad I could help give her some justice, even if it came way too late." "It's never too late," Marcus said. "Not really. Justice delayed isn't justice denied. Not when it finally arrives." Jax kick-started his motorcycle, the engine roaring to life. Before he pulled away, he looked back at Marcus one more time. "If you ever need anything," Jack said over the rumble of his Harley, "you call me, day or night. You've got a brother in the Iron Serpents now, whether you wear a patch or not." Marcus smiled. "And you've got a friend in the Nevada Highway Patrol." "Not many bikers can say that." "No," Jax agreed. "Not many can." He pulled onto the highway, and Marcus watched him go, the motorcycle becoming smaller and smaller until it was just a black dot on the horizon, then nothing at all. But even after Jax disappeared, Marcus stood there, feeling something he hadn't felt in 7 years. Peace. The tattoo had connected them. A date, a design, a memory of the worst night of both their lives. But it had also given them something else, a chance for redemption, for forgiveness, for transformation. Jax had spent 18 years believing he was broken, and Marcus had spent 7 years believing all bikers were monsters. They'd both been wrong. Marcus got back in his patrol car and pulled onto the highway. He'd continue his work, continue protecting people, continue trying to make the roads safer. But now he'd do it with a different perspective. He'd remember that behind every patch, every motorcycle, every roaring engine, there was a person. Someone with a story, with pain, with the capacity for both great harm and great good. And somewhere out there, riding through the Nevada desert with a phoenix medallion on his keychain, Jax would continue his own journey. The broken sword tattooed on his arm would remind him every day of his failure. But now it would also remind him of his redemption. He'd tried to save a girl he didn't know, had failed, and had spent nearly 2 decades punishing himself. But in helping Marcus find justice, in working to make things right, he'd finally started to forgive himself, the serpent and the broken sword. A mark of shame that became a mark of honor, a tattoo that connected 2 men across 18 years of pain and brought them both to a place neither expected, not closure, exactly, but something better, understanding and hope. 5 years later, Marcus Webb retired from the Nevada Highway Patrol with full honors. At his retirement party, there was an unexpected guest, a grizzled biker in an Iron Serpents vest, standing awkwardly in a room full of cops. But when Marcus saw Jax, his face lit up, and he introduced him to everyone present. "This is my friend Jackson," Marcus said simply. "He helped me solve the most important case of my career. He taught me that justice isn't always found in handcuffs and courtrooms. Sometimes it's found on a dusty highway, in an honest conversation between 2 men who needed to forgive themselves and each other." And there, on Marcus's wrist, visible when he raised his glass for a toast, was a new tattoo, a small phoenix rising, and next to it, in simple script, "March 15th, 2007, she is not forgotten." Across the room, Jax raised his own glass, his scarred forearm visible, the serpent and broken sword still there, but somehow different now. Not a mark of shame, but a mark of survival. Of a man who'd been broken and had learned to carry his pieces with honor. 2 tattoos, 2 men, one tragedy that had somehow, impossibly, led to something that looked a little bit like redemption. The desert had taught Sarah that destruction and creation were partners. And in the end, from the destruction of that terrible night, something had been created. Not happiness, not healing exactly, but connection, brotherhood, a reminder that we're all just doing the best we can, and sometimes, if we're lucky, we get a chance to make things right, even if it takes 18 years, even if it starts with a routine traffic stop and a tattoo that connected 2 souls who needed, more than anything, to be seen, to be understood, and to be forgiven.